Welcome, everyone. We're here with Irene Burns, and she's got a fantastic story. We're going to jump into it. I've worked with Irene for several years now. She's a real estate investor. We've done several deals together, but she's also a restaurant owner, a former, one of the first, a pioneer Airbnb short-term investors. I'm kidding. We're going to hear that story in a second. Investors in the Burlington area. And we were just chit-chatting before this. I said, no, we're going to hit record right now. Let's listen to it. Tell me the story about your first short-term rental.
Yeah, so back, I guess we were talking 1989 was when I started. And we just rented a room in our house. And I had one child at the time. I now have four, but and I was pregnant with my second one. So that's where I was like, okay, now I have kids. And I thought I got to make some extra money but I didn't want to put my kids in daycare. And I was like, how am I going to do this with, being staying at home? So anyway, I don't know how I found out about it, but there was a bed and breakfast association in Burlington. And this one is a brochure from 1991.
Wow.
And I'm up here in the top corner, and a description of our place. But they had set the rate. So on the bottom here, you can see that it was for a double, it was 45, and for a single, $30.
45 a night.
And it says breakfast is included.
45 a night for a couple with breakfast. Today, you'd be lucky to get through breakfast for a couple and not spend $100 just on the breakfast. Never mind.
Yeah. And it says, please write or phone first.
You gotta love it. You gotta
right.
That's a fantastic introduction story. But before we go on, just a brief history on Irene. We know your name, Irene Burns. You're sitting in a restaurant right now. You're a restaurateur. Give us a brief history on yourself. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah. So I guess I seriously got into investing. My husband passed away, and I had just a small insurance policy, but I had four kids under 13, and I was like, oh, this isn't going to last me. Like, how's this going to play in my life? So I was fortunate enough in 2000, that was in 2002, he passed away. In 2003, I bought a townhouse I thought, oh, I'm going to buy, because if I put this in the bank, it's going to disappear. And so I bought a townhouse. And in 2003, just rented it out. Didn't know what I was doing, obviously, just, back. So then until I got a bad tenant, and then I was like, okay, now what am I going to do with this place, right? That's how, that's how you learn. So once I had that bad tenant, I had to reno it. It was, they owed me 20 grand. I had to figure out how to go through the LTV. Didn't know what it was, literally
20,000 is a lot of money in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Well, with the reno. Oh, no, it was that would have been that would have been 2000.
Oh, sorry, you said 2003. Yeah, that's still a lot of money back then too.
20 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
So I bought this, but I didn't know what I was doing, but that's how I learned. And then I sat still for a long time. I just didn't really know. Then around 2014, so we're talking, I held on to that. 11 years later, I was like, oh, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with this townhouse. So I didn't go to Rockstar meeting, but I did go to another meetup group, and I said, that was my question. What was the purpose of going there, trying to find somebody to help me figure out what to do with it. They said, well, you should probably sell that and buy a couple multi-units.
Great. Right?
So I bought that for 178 and sold it for 425. So back, 12 years later. But that gave me enough money then to buy a couple of multi-units. So the first one I found was on I found them both in Grimsby.
Yes.
Nice little
town. Got some small multi-family properties in Grimsby. You use that one little townhouse, kind of step it up into some small triplexes and fourplexes and fiveplexes, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there was a 5 and a 4 there. So the first one, my daughter was living there at the time, so I found myself in Grimsby a few times, babysitting, whatever, helping them out. And so I was driving just down the street that she lives off of, and I literally saw them putting the for sale sign in the lawn. So I called my realtor at the time and I said, okay, I think we should look at this. So anyway, went there. Sure enough, there was other people. They had an open house, and so I bought that. So I ended up getting it. And then 6 months later, I found an ad on Facebook or Kijiji. And that's how I bought my second one, as I just did a private, it was a private sale, and learned how to just do that through like negotiated. She didn't even want any money down. I didn't even put a down payment down. Like they just,
Yes.
and they're still my tenants actually. I took them on as tenants and they're still there.